All right, thank you for joining us. Today we are talking about how your training should change with age. Okay, Peter, what is a time you felt old recently?
Oh man, all the time. I'd say one of the bigger ones recently when we got a surprise trip that was given to us to go to Hawaii last year. And I haven't sprinted in a while, been wanting to sprint, found a nice grassy field. Second day we were there and I was running, and probably as always, like your last rep or two, I must have landed in a hole. I don't know specifically, but my knee started to get really tight, started to swell, and suddenly all these activities that we were planning on doing, I couldn't do anymore. But on the bright side, I had plenty of time to do some tissue work and some rehab. But yeah, these unexpected things that you've taken for granted for so long, it's a bummer but there's so much you still can do.
Cool.
Kyle, I know you're still a young pup, still in your 20s.
Indeed.
Have you felt invincible at all recently, or the opposite of that?
I mean, generally still in my prime for sure. I'm pretty happy with how things are going, but I will say that my explosiveness, I'm already seeing the first signs of that dropping. My vertical jump, I PR'd probably about 2 years ago now, and I haven't been able to beat it since. But I'm not doing a crazy amount of work towards it, but I'm doing as much as I was then, and it's dropping a little bit. So if I want to get that back, I'm going to put an even greater priority on that. So I'm just thinking of athletes who are in their primes, in their late 20s, but they might not be as explosive as they were when they were the 22-year-old first coming out of college. They might be more savvy, more skilled now. But Anthony Edwards is jumping higher than LeBron these days. So I'm just seeing the first signs of that.
Yeah.
So something to look out for. Yeah.
LeBron can do what he can do.
Yeah.
Comparing
yourself to LeBron is going to make a lot of people pretty upset.
Yeah, just stop now.
Yeah. But with that, how training should change with age, right? So our objective for today, we're going to discuss what generally differs from the training we do for clients in their primes versus those in their later decades. And the short answer is not as much as you might think, right? Conceptually, we always want to train the following: mobility, the ability to access and be stable at the normative end ranges that a person should be able to get to, right? We want to train strength, the ability to produce force. We're going to train power, the ability to produce force quickly, my vertical jump. We want to train conditioning, the ability to move for a long time or very intensely for a short time, right? We're always doing these 4 things with everyone who comes into the gym. But our methods will generally evolve a bit over time, right? And a couple notes before we get into what we're talking about exactly. Nothing today is an absolute rule. Anytime you see an Instagram article that says, never do this once you're past 40. What does that even mean? When these methods evolve for an individual greatly depends on their goals and their training history, right? And then really our main goal today is not to tell you what you can't do when you're older. By the end of this talk, we're aiming to clear up some common misconceptions about what training into your twilight years can and should look like. We're going to admit that some things get a little bit different or require a little extra attention, but really this talk should be liberating, not limiting.
Yes, for sure. So many people, oh, you're so old or you're retired, you can't do this anymore. Oh, it's like, no. You look at people that have lived their lives well and have really improved and increased their health span, and look at a lot of those qualities and traits, those commonalities that they do. And that's what we really want to put our emphasis on today.
Yeah, indeed. So let's dig into it, right? Let's start with mobility, okay? What is our goal, no matter what your age is? With mobility, we want to have access to those normative ranges and positions. What are the things that your skeleton should be able to do? Can we get rid of any limitations that are holding you back? Okay. For all ages, we're going to do the following. We're going to have a daily or weekly practice that moves you through a full range of every joint, right? Use it or lose it. The ankles, hips, spine, and shoulders especially are going to be areas of focus for us. We're going to do full range of motion strength training to back that up. This can reinforce your ranges and make you more stable in those positions. And we're going to sneak in little mobility snacks throughout the day. Just have a lifestyle that supports mobility. Sitting on the floor is a good simple one that can just lead to you messing around, getting into some different positions over time. So those are good things no matter how old you are.
And your mobility will change depending on just how your structure is, what you did when you were growing up, and just keep accessing whatever that is. Yeah. Don't feel like, oh, since I can't do what I used to do, I'm done. No. Yeah. What do I have? Let me do it. Let me find it.
Yeah. So what are some challenges with age that come up with mobility? One, there's just more years for past injuries and a sedentary lifestyle to add up, right? So if you ignore your mobility for 30 years and work a desk work job and then you stretch twice and you're like, this isn't working. It's like, nope. You're just battling a long history of not moving, right? It's going to take some time to get back to that. And then connective tissue also becomes less hydrated, stiffer with age. So yeah, in general, you are going to, as a population, we're going to get a little stiffer as we get older, right? But again, thankfully, your body adapts to the demands put upon it, right? So what can we do to combat these challenges with age, right? So the solutions, we're going to put an even greater emphasis on the things we said earlier, having a lifestyle that supports mobility, a morning and evening routine, sitting on the floor. I always love to shout out my mom here. My mom is a teacher for my entire life. She's done her schoolwork and correcting papers and stuff like that on the floor in the evenings. And she is pretty dang mobile. She could probably still do a toe touch if she wanted to. And I won't tell you how old she is because she'd get very mad at me. But it's very impressive that she can almost do a toe touch. So she's thriving just because of all the time that's added up from that. Within your workouts, we love emphasizing full range of motion patterns, right? So deep squats, deep lunges, deep lateral squats for your hips, hinges for your hamstrings, presses and full range of motion pulls to open up your shoulders.
Something that I've started to do in my morning class that I run, they're probably average age close to 50. But when I'm going to explain the plan for the day after we've done the warm-up, I make everybody hang while I'm talking. Ideally, one, it keeps them from being distracted. Hopefully, they're going to actually pay attention. I don't have to repeat myself. But two, just to access that end range that helps offset a lot of our common seated posture, hunched forward, dropping the head, just to open that up. I feel like it's so good for necks too.
Yeah.
So.
Agreed. And so pauses in the stretched position of all these patterns can also help. So that's in Peter's case that they're hanging out in that hang for a while when he talks, right? But I'll often prescribe pauses a lot. I have a client who was a lifelong Ironman marathoner, like super impressive, in phenomenal shape in that conditioning sense, but was super, super stiff, right? And over the course of our time together, he can now do an awesome deep lateral squat, and it's been a whole heck of a lot of reps with pauses in the bottom position, and those adductors gradually freed up, But the before and after picture of his squat is probably one of the best I've had with a client of mine, of just, you barely moved anywhere on day one, and now you can sit in this nice, comfortable, hips below your knees squat and hang out down there.
Especially males that, again, sit a lot or do kind of this linear, kind of like an Ironman. They kind of in those range of motions over and over. I was like, adductors are probably one of the most common things that are just stiff. Yeah. Again, that morning crew that I was just talking about, it's common amongst all those guys to just, we get into any kind of thing that opens that up, and there's just, this is going to suck, this is going to hurt. And when they leave, they feel good. Hips are moving more mobile, more free. But if you're looking for a place to start, that's a good way to go.
Agreed. So keep working on your end ranges, spend a lot of time there, and program that into your workouts as well, right? Now, what are some common modifications we make for people who aren't quite at that perfect mobility level yet? With squats, we often elevate people's heels to help them get greater depth. Just putting 5-pound plates or a rubber pad under the heels basically makes your body act as if you had better ankles than you did, and it allows you to sit deeper into your hips. You can get more mobility out of that pattern than you could without using that. Split squats, putting a pad under the back foot or elevating the back foot can help those with limited back big toe mobility. That's something that we'll see sometimes with clients, that just that extension in the back big toe in a split squat is becoming aggravating. With deadlifts, we often elevate the weight a little bit to be able to maintain a neutral spine in that start position. We don't want to have people in this kind of rounded over posture because they're too stiff to get down there. We'll bring the weight up to them where they can put themselves in a position to pick that weight up with good technique while we work on improving that range. With presses, we often use a landmine or an incline press that allows me to press at this angle if I don't have full overhead motion. Because if I don't have access to that, I ask you to press overhead, well then you have to lean back and put yourself in a more compromised position. And we want to improve that range of motion. We want to get back to that, but we're not going to force you there if you don't have it. And then pulls, generally we need to be a little less careful with because they'll kind of almost pull you into the stretch position, but we're just going to program them with that in mind, right? Vertical pulls, working on a pull down or a hang can improve that overhead position. Proper rows, emphasis on proper, where I'm moving my shoulder blades back as I row, can improve your shoulder blade control and improve your posture, which is going to improve your upper body mobility a lot. If I'm in this posture and I row in this posture, I'm not going to get any better at that, right? So those are just some common things we'll be thinking about in workouts for people who are lacking range of motion, to work around those things, but also get them back to those things.
And for some of you guys too that train a lot at home or on your own or whatever, we'd encourage you to film yourself doing some of these patterns. You can kind of see, am I having some of these compensations that Kyle was just kind of demonstrating? And okay, based upon that, what can I do to get in a little bit better position? Because the last thing we want to do is you're doing all these really good movements, but you're doing them poorly. Now it causes more injury, more pain, and now you're less likely to do them because it hurts. Mm-hmm. So just having somebody with some coaching eyes that can just help you on these, again, we're always here to help in that regards, but just to put you in the best position for where you're at and what activities you're doing, and then a plan to progress if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, cool. Moving on to strength. Okay, goal for strength training for all ages: be strong, be stable, and have enough muscle mass to prevent injury, enhance performance, have healthy body composition, and support longevity. Okay, so that's what we want, no matter how old you are. And for all ages, what are we going to do? We're going to train the major movement patterns. We're going to push stuff. We're going to pull stuff. We're going to squat. We're going to hinge. We're going to apply progressive overload over time. We're going to have some way to progress the training. And generally 2 to 3 full body sessions a week is a good plan for most, but we can add in more isolation work or more volume or more days per week if needed, as desired by your goals. Okay. So what are the challenges to strength training with age? Right. There are some natural things that happen in the absence of training as time goes on: the muscle fiber size reduction and loss, hormonal changes, nervous system changes, protein synthesis decline. All these things make it harder to build muscle mass and get stronger as you're older, but again, not impossible. Do you have anyone who's older still getting stronger, Peter?
I have a young gal, I'll call her. She, again, mom did a lot of kind of martial arts stuff when she was younger, got into endurance sports more heavily in more of her middle decades, and then started to get more strength training when she's had a couple serious accidents, a hip replacement, and strength training has been a big part of her rehab and now her just maintaining and even performance enhancement. And at she's 71, 72, but she just did a lifetime PR with a deadlift. And she's gotten stronger some, but so much is just learning how to exert force, learning how to create stability and brace so that way she can use that strength that she's had created over the years. But I would have never guessed that she would be where she's at today, but she's just so consistent and does some of these little things so well that she blows me away every month.
Yep.
So
love it. Yeah. So we don't tell you these things to scare you or to discourage you from training. It's like, no, this stuff is happening. This is something you can't control. But what you can control is what you do about it, right? And especially if you have not reached your genetic potential, well, then you still have a whole heck of a lot of room to improve. Your peak potential is declining over time, but what can you do about it? Control what you can control. Other challenges with age: there's a general change in the risk-reward mindset with peak strength. People are generally less concerned about their PRs once they have kids to take care of or grandkids to go play with, right? This might not be as important to you, which is fine. We'll talk about that in a second. And then there's a little bit of a decreased recovery capacity, both physiologically as well as situationally, right? When I'm training a high school athlete and we go through a hard training session, what does the rest of their day look like? Maybe like one homework assignment, and then they play video games the rest of the night and relax, and they sleep 9 hours and they're ready for it tomorrow. When you're an adult, you might have a little more on your plate, right? That all stress goes into the same bucket, and your stress bucket's probably a little more full with other things. So there's just less room left for your body to recover from the training.
And this is probably where I've seen the biggest change in the last, say, 20, 25 years. And a saying that I like to use is you can only train as hard as what you can recover from. So I've had to modify my goals based upon what else life is with the businesses, with the family, with other relationships and things outside of here. So that way I can minimize some of these stupid things, as I say, that that I took for granted when I was younger.
So if these are our challenges, what are our solutions, right? Number one, don't stop training and training hard, right? There are awesome studies coming out more and more every day that show that heavy strength training is still completely safe for older populations when done well. Training above 80 to 90% of your 1 rep max, right? This doesn't need to be once you're 50, you just grab some light weights and do sets of 15 at a 4 out of 10 effort, right? That's not going to get you anywhere. Because of those challenges you're facing physiologically as you get older, it's actually more imperative that you train harder in these later decades, right? So first and foremost, wanted to say that. We're going to train all movement patterns still. Nothing comes off the table. The dose makes the poison is a saying I like a lot, right? So say you've tweaked yourself with a deadlift, or you've seen an Instagram post that said never overhead press once you're over 50, The dose makes the poison, right? So if you're putting yourself in a position you don't have access to, or you've taken a break from it, you come back to this crazy load your body wasn't ready for, or you've done 100 pounds with your deadlift for the last 8 weeks, and then you go up to 150 out of nowhere. That's poor prescription, but it wasn't the movement's fault. All these movements are still vital movements for you. Deadlift is just learning how to pick something up off the floor. That's something we want to be able to do into the final years of your life, right? Overhead pressing is having the stability to put weight overhead, so I can put a suitcase in the overhead bin and go travel on a tropical vacation, right? These movements are movements for life. The dose makes the poison, so just prescribe them appropriately, progress them appropriately. So all that being said, though, we do love pushing self-limiting patterns harder, right? So what do we mean by self-limiting? Think about a split squat versus a squat. So for a squat, Peter's doing a big heavy back squat. He's a pretty strong guy. That's a lot of weight on his body, right? For that pattern, we might have him work at like an 8 out of 10 most of the time. Hey, we're gonna get to a challenging load, but we're gonna make sure you're nice and stable and doing this well. But then when he's doing a split squat, he's in a lunge position, holding dumbbells by his sides, just going up and down. And that pattern, his quads, his glutes, his hamstrings, his leg, the lead leg, really clearly is the limiting factor there. Whereas on the back squat, it might be more of his torso stability or his brace. So on that split squat, he's basically gonna just not be able to do it before anything bad would happen. That's what we would call a more self-limiting pattern. Whereas the squat, before he physically can't move anymore, he might start to change his technique and kind of get into some less ideal positions. So maybe on something like the squat, he might go 8 out of 10, but on the split squat, it might go 9 or 10 out of 10, right? Another example is a bridge versus a deadlift, right? So a deadlift requires good shoulder stability, core stability, kind of this full body coordination, which makes it an awesome high reward lift. But again, maybe we go 8 out of 10 just because it is a little bit more technical. Where something like a bridge, the client we have here on the screen doing a bridge with 95 pounds, bars on her lap, all she needs to do is brace her core, squeeze her butt, and drive up. There's not load on her spine in the same way. That's a good pattern to push harder. So that's something we like to do. Doesn't mean you take the other higher technicality patterns out, but they might just leave a little more in the tank, and you might push those self-limiting patterns harder.
So an easy way to think of it, like with the self-limiting ones, is if I'm going to an 8 out of 10, what is that? Maybe I could do 3 more reps, 4 more reps. So it's kind of so many reps in the tank, and just always keeping that reserve, or that budget is what I call, so we don't ever kind of exhaust that. Where other ones, it's like, take it to where you cannot do one more good rep, and it's a position like the bridge that we feel very safe with, that you can do and do well with very minimal risk.
Yeah. And if you're unfamiliar with that, what is 0 in the tank? What is 1 in the tank? What does 2 in the tank feel like? Most people are. When we say 2 in the tank, they probably had 5 in the tank. So again, take a self-limiting pattern truly to failure till you cannot do it anymore. You can understand what 0 feels like, and then understand what 1 feels like and 2 feels like, etc. Right? Other things we might do is to use constraints that allow you to push hard, but with less absolute load, with less total load on your body. So we might do no 1 rep maxes anymore. We might keep you, even on your heavy work, which is still really valuable to do, we might keep you to like a set of 5, or maybe a set of 3 or 4, right? Something in that zone, and that might be the heaviest weight that you touch, is a weight that you can do 5 times as opposed to a weight that you truly could only do once. We also might use tempo. We might use pauses in the bottom position. We might use slow lowers with the weight. Those things make a given weight feel harder, so we can kind of get that intense training stimulus with a little less load on your body.
Yeah, and some of you guys that have used the velocity-based training, it's really cool here is you can set a limit. When that bar speed gets under this, I'm done. And then it really minimizes that risk.
Yeah. Cool. So Peter's talking about the speed coming out. When that gets super slow, it's getting really hard. We might intentionally use slow lowers on the descent to make it harder intentionally. So all in the same bucket of kind of using tempo as a constraint there. Going into power now. Yeah, so that's our strength training. Let's now go to power. Goal here, be able to produce force quickly, whether that be for performance or just for life, right? Am I trying to win the high jump at the Olympics, or do I just want to be able to quickly catch myself when I trip on the curb? We always need that skill of moving fast. For all ages, we want to move explosively. We want to ideally have a way to measure your output if possible. It'll help you drive the intent of moving quickly. So can we measure your jump height or distance, measure your sprint times, stuff like that. And it's generally done best right after warming up when you are fresh. My body's loose, it's ready to roll, but I'm not fatigued yet from other forms of training. Okay. What are the challenges here with age? This is the skill lost the fastest with age, 70% faster than strength, right? That's why I'm maybe already seen a little decline in my power here despite being 28 still. That's why you don't see 100-meter dash champions who are in their 40s, right? That's not a thing at all, right? But you can still do a little bit better in other areas of fitness in those later decades. Fast twitch type 2 fibers are lost at a greater, faster rate than your type 1, more endurance-based fibers. And neurological changes are also at play. Your reaction time slows down. The rate that you can send a signal to your muscle slows down with time. So that's why this skill is lost a little bit faster.
And you see a lot of people too, when they get into more of their endurance-based sports, they tend to get a little older. Why? Because they can't be as explosive, so they go somewhere else where they can still be more successful, especially compared to their peers. But another reason to us why we're like, no, you have to train this no matter what you decide to do. What you do is have that intent to move fast, whatever it is, even if it's not the best you've ever done.
Yep. As humbling as it may be. So, solutions, right? What are we still doing? Continue to move quickly, as Peter just said. We have a client on the screen here. I believe she's
upper 80s.
Yeah. Still doing some skips, doing some jumps here. Again, continue to use this skill. Pick patterns you can execute with explosive intent. So pick things that aren't super technical or complicated, so you can just move fast. Simple hops, jumps, med ball slams, stuff like that. And then challenge your coordination too. Sports and play are great. Being in a pickleball league or playing tennis or racquetball, those things get you moving in different directions, and there's a reaction time component to them. I would say that those things aren't sufficient on their own because there are those other elements to it. You're probably never moving truly at your max speed. So do both some, simple stuff in a controlled environment in the gym, and then go get a variety of different movements at different speeds in a sport environment.
Yeah, I can't overemphasize that enough. And like Kyle said too, make it fun, make it playful there, so that you have that opportunity to appreciate what your body can still do.
Yep. So in the conditioning realm, our last big bucket here. Goal for all ages: have a high functioning engine to support performance in all the other systems in your body. We are going to accumulate lots of movement, aiming for 8,000 to 12,000 steps a day. We're going to accumulate low intensity cardiovascular work, whether that's steady state work or whether that's play options as well. And then we're going to do some high intensity work. Get huffing and puffing once or twice a week, challenge your system at a higher intensity level. All those different things have value. They all challenge the cardiovascular system a little bit differently.
And I would say, again, that high intensity stuff, don't go nuts. Some people go, shoot, if it's so good 1 or 2 days, I should do it 5 days. And it's amazing how quickly that can wear you out, and you'll just stop doing a lot of things. So try to keep that good balance. Again, more play, more fun, just movement, but still go above that threshold where it's like, ooh, this is getting a little uncomfortable. Just don't do it a lot, but do it enough.
If you keep doing it too often, one of my favorite ways to say it is that it will feel hard to you, but you won't actually be training that hard relative to what you're capable of. Just like strength. If I deadlifted as heavy as I could every day for a whole week, by the end it would feel really hard, but I wouldn't actually be able to deadlift that heavy anymore. It wouldn't have been as advantageous as the adaptation I get when I do it when I'm fresher. So same with your high intensity conditioning. You're going to be able to go truly harder if you recover from it and then go harder again, once or twice a week. Challenges with age, right? Just basically a less efficient cardiovascular system. Your heart muscles weaken, the left ventricle that pumps blood to the rest of your body, the wall thickens and stiffens a little bit with age. You have decreased lung elasticity. You have weaker breathing musculature. There's a reduced surface area for the gas exchange in the alveoli. It's one of the hardest words for me to say, in your lungs. Your arteries become stiffer, fatty deposits can build up. So I say all this again, not to tell you that, this is pointless. No, this is extra reason for you to do it, right? If anything, I love hearing about this stuff before I do a cardio work, and I'm doing one later today. It makes me extra motivated to do it. I'm not going to let this stuff happen, right? Another challenge is that your biomechanical challenges might limit options for you, right? Again, whether it's past injuries, cartilage loss in your joints over time, balance loss that makes maybe certain things a little less safe or comfortable for you. And that might take some of your modality options off the table for you. So what are we going to do about it? Again, don't stop training and training hard. Keep it up, right? All those things we put on the previous slide will be greatly lessened in the presence of training. And if you have not reached your potential, you can still improve greatly with your training, right? Continue to accumulate low intensity activity, steps, as well as steady state stuff or play. Train at a high intensity once or twice a week. The caveats are pick modalities that work well for you. Right? So that might be biking or swimming or other lower impact options if you have an injury history that makes something higher impact like running less tolerable for you. We still love play options like hiking, pickleball, racquetball. We kind of mentioned those in the power section for giving you some low intensity exposure to moving quickly. But they also are just good general low intensity activity for your cardiovascular system as well. They're also going to work on other physiological skills like balance, reaction time. They're going to provide social opportunity, which is huge for our older populations. So just keep doing this and pick things that work well for you is our big takeaway here. So to wrap it all up, mobility. expect to put in more time here. Just kind of accept that reality, but do it, right? And modify your strength patterns as needed, but still move through the deepest range you can to reinforce your range of motion. With strength work, still train hard, and especially do that on self-limiting patterns that you feel really safe and confident with. You can do other things like using 5 or more reps on your sets, use pauses, use slow lowers, use a velocity cutoff on your concentric phase of your reps like Peter talked about. With power training, still move fast, especially here, the skill you lose the fastest, but just pick simple things that you can execute well and have a little fun playing some sports if you can. And then conditioning, accumulate lots of steps and low intensity activity, get your heart rate up high at least once or twice a week, and pick options that feel good for you. Okay. Big theme, use it or lose it. Okay. Keep doing it, keep thriving, keep living the life you want to live.
Yeah, and just, it's one of those things when you will look back towards the end of your life, this is something that you probably like, oh man, I think I did too much of that. I shouldn't have done as much. It's almost always 99% of the time in reverse. And then you'll just appreciate and have just this kind of really cool self-reflection too of the things that you were willing to do outside your comfort zone. It wasn't the easy thing to do, but you're so much more appreciative of it for it as you continue through your journey, and you get these fun little wins that will just keep coming and popping up at all stages of your life. So just keep going, keep doing what you can do, focusing on that, not what you can't do.
Yeah. My favorite way I've heard it broken down is to choose your hard. Like strength training is hard, right? So is having low bone density and not being able to get off the couch when you're 90.
Yes.
Like, which hard do you want, right? Hey, conditioning workouts are hard. So is not being able to climb the stairs to go watch your kid play high school sports, right? Mm-hmm. That's hard too, right? So which hard do you want, right? I know which one I want. I know which one Peter wants. I think I know which one you want too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Choose your hard. Great.
Cool. See you guys next time.